All right, we're getting bored of Diablo, boys. At least until the season comes. Let's take a look
My
at the
thoughts
full and
on
honest Diablo
Diablo
review.
3.
This is the official one from Blizzard.
All right, let's start over. My thoughts on Diablo 4. So, let's talk about obviously the campaign. I think the campaign was very good. I liked the campaign. Campaign was very
Campaign was big W. Anybody that watched the cutscenes, obviously it's a Blizzard game, super well
put
done.
together, and just overall, I liked the cinematics. I think it flowed together very well. Everything was voice acted. There were great little cutscenes.
Yep.
Nothing is
It
bad
it
about
really
the
did
campaign.
make you
I think
feel
the campaign was
immersed
a
in the
universal
actual
W,
campaign.
and I was very happy about it. I also think that it left off on a position to where it definitely opens up the possibility for expansions, and it's obvious what those expansions are going to.
Yeah. So the story actually is very open-ended in the sense that, like, like, now we're gonna go after Mephisto. Well, I should spoil that.
be, right? You've got the Mephisto shit. Like, obviously,
Okay, he said it, so fuck you. Yeah. So we got the Mephisto stuff. Obviously, you know what? If you're watching this, I'm assuming you played the game, so I don't care about you. You're gonna get spoiled. So, definitely the Mephisto stuff. You know that's coming next
how
for
many
sure.
fucking times have we killed Diablo? Like 15?
Yeah, demons
and
come
he keeps
back.
coming back. I'm sure Lilith will be back too.
It's how we
So
keep
you've
the
got
money
Diablo
machine
himself, Bale, fucking Mephisto, like all that stuff. Yeah. So campaign was amazing. The gameplay, this is the best way for me to describe the gameplay for Diablo 4. I think that the levels 1 through 80 in Diablo 4, 1 through 70, maybe a little bit to 1 to 80 depending on your RNG, are better than PoE. And I think 70 to 100 or 80 to 100, depending on RNG and how well you play and
Yeah.
stuff like
Okay, so
that,
I know what he's gonna say here.
that part is better in PoE. Because I
Yeah.
feel like
The initial grind, the initial gameplay loop, and the initial like rise up, like I would say, like what do you want to call it? I would say like if like mid game, right? If you want to call it that, the mid game of Diablo 4 is primo. It is top tier. It feels so good. Combat is crisp on it, but PoE does end game better just because of the amount of content and variety offered. I mean, it's quite literally endless.
Diablo 4,
I mean, at the
misses
very,
that
I mean, it's
last fifth
huge,
of the game.
huge.
Like 1 to
compared
20 is
to
great, 20 to
Diablo.
40 is great, 40 to 60 is great, 60 to 80 is like mostly great.
60 to 80 is like where it starts to wind down. So it's like 60 to 80 is like, ooh, like, yeah, like this is, I'm having a good time. And then like 70, you're just like, oh, like I'm getting kind of sleepy. And then 75, you're like, oh, I'm tired. And then at 80, you're like,
And then 80 to 100 is like, what the fuck am I doing with my life?
yeah.
Why am I doing this? I'm farming all of this gear. I'm getting all of these
Yeah, and it's like, is your build going to change that much? Is there something to actually play for after that? The Pinnacle Dungeon, okay, sure. Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't drop like awesome loot, and that's what this game's about is loot. Because by the time you get there, it's like you're just increasing little percentages at that point. You got all the boxes ticked. Obviously, there's the uniques that drop at 85 plus, but those aren't game changing enough to actually spice up the variety, right?
Paragon levels for what? To kill Uber Lilith and get nothing?
Yeah.
Who cares?
There you go.
Right?
The reward is not
point to
there.
it. I'm
The
not
reward.
motivated to continue doing it. So, like, I feel like I just run out of motivation to continue doing this, right? It
Yeah.
seems for nothing. Yes, it's just for nothing. Yes, maybe I'll get them out. Maybe I'll kill Uber Lilith at some point. But my motivation for it is very, very minimal. Somebody brings up in chat, race to 100, hardcore is super fun to watch, but seeing all the illegitimate deaths was a letdown. Blizzard is fixing that. Everybody said I was wrong with this. Apparently Blizzard disagrees. So I think that's great to see. Blizzard is changing that. On top of that, another thing that's happening is they're adding in like little bonus things into the game, right? Like the gem tab. I do not understand how adding a gem tab into this game. I don't understand how this takes until season 2.
Yeah, yeah. The time frame in which they put out for that is long. It's a W in regards to thank God that they're doing it. But it is an L in how long it's taking. I mean, it's a tab. Can we not just copy and paste? I mean, I'm not a coder or anything like that, but I couldn't assume it takes quite literally 6 months to 9 months to add a gem tab.
And I really hope that Blizzard realizes that not everybody in the world lives inside of Blizzard time dilation, where like changing the spelling on something takes 10 months. So if the game is bad, people are just going
I wonder if things have like different check processes. Like I know like in the medical field, like things have to go through so many different checks. Like from the service date all the way, through the process of billing. The reason it takes, 30 plus days, 30 to 45 days is because of how many people are actually touching that before, it's actually considered fulfilled, right? And I wonder if that's like something similar, like if there's just a lot of paperwork and, things behind it.
Move away from the game, and a lot of times they're not going to come back and play it whenever it's good again. Yeah. And this is what happened with Shadowlands.
Yeah.
Is that Shadowlands was bad for so long because Blizzard refused to listen to what the player base said. Yeah. And then by the time that it was improved,
people
at
didn't
the
care
end
anymore.
Of the game,
they did not
nobody
care.
cared anymore.
Yeah.
And Diablo 3 was the same thing.
It was over.
Yes.
It was done.
So I don't think that Blizzard can rely on people just waiting around for the game to get better. They need to be making these changes proactively, immediately. New World is another great example of this. Immediately. Like, I don't want to wait until Season 7 for the game to be good. This is ridiculous, because by the time Season 7 comes out, people are going to lost interest.
So I'm kind of torn on this. Just in, the first season's being rolled out. Maybe they're perfecting the season mechanic. We don't know what it is yet. I'm being cautiously optimistic. Obviously, as history has shown us, defending Blizzard has not proven to be a good strategy. But I want to be cautiously optimistic and say maybe they're putting extra effort towards something for season launch, which will improve gameplay quality. The gem thing, that's kind of what makes me a little pessimistic towards it, because little tiny changes like this, why does it take 9 months?
I think that's another big issue. A lot of these changes have come.
It's nice we have an estimated slow, ETA, basically. But still, that's crazy long. Especially in terms of gaming.
Changes has been both very fast and too slow. Some of the things like making adjustments to different abilities, nerfing things. I play a Whirlwind Barbarian. I'd say 80% of the nerfs were definitely warranted. It just was insane. It's an insane class. So I definitely understand why they nerfed it, but making the classes playable, I think, is another issue, because whenever I leveled, and this is mainly experience.
Yeah, I'm more of the I'm of the strain of why nerf when we can bring other classes to up, right? I know it's then it's that's kind of the argument, if everything's broken, then nothing is, right? But that's kind of it fulfills a power fantasy. You're supposed to feel kind of OP, and I don't mean in the Diablo 3 sense of the word, but I think a Whirlwind Barb especially was a really good demonstration of that, because they could still die. They definitely had the ability to be hurt still. They bleed, right? But the damage and just the overall, just being able to jump in and smash mobs, low to mid tier mobs, just feels good. While some classes can't do that.
Experience from the beta, I haven't really played
unless you go a perfectly optimal build.
Really changed ever since the second beta and the server slam, is that the experience playing the game and the experience leveling 1 to 50 as a barbarian and a druid is decidedly worse than the other classes.
Yep.
And it's worse for no reason.
I leveled a rogue, thankfully, so I did not experience this, but I did start leveling a sorcerer, and there's even worse classes to level in that. But rogue was the best to level for sure. It felt the cleanest, and you felt powerful all the way throughout. Now that I'm playing a sorcerer, I feel discriminated against when I go to fight mobs because of how I just feel like I hit them with a wet noodle a lot of the time. So
because inside of all of your skills and your talents and everything like this, there are coefficients that increase these numbers based off of the level that you are.
And every level on a core skill is about 10%
stats.
damage approximately.
And I think Blizzard would be doing themselves a really big favor if they just made barbarians and druids more fun to level. Yep. I think this is like an easy
especially since the initial 0 to 80 leveling zone is like or that mid game area is already so good. If they made it feel even better to level like all the classes, massive W, right? Just because it's going to increase the experience even more than it already has. It's already really good, but we can further it even better just by bringing them up, right? There's no reason it should feel like shit hitting a mob at level 20 when you have a class that can literally, smash a dungeon, twisting blade, and jump all the way to the boss and everything's dead, right?
And it's just not a fun experience. I think that also this problem is like, it's like multiplied because in Act 1, a lot of the fights in Act 1 are melee unfriendly, right? Where you're fighting like the girl's mom, and there's like the succubus mobs running away from you constantly, and then the fucking chosen of Lilith is standing inside of the poison cloud it dropped, and you just have to attack it.
I'm gonna skip around a little bit just to the chapters I want to see, because this is a fairly decently long. This is a girthy video, so I'm just going to skip around. So this one right here, the problem with builder spenders. Let's see it.
Early levels. I think that also, like, the builder spender meta that, like, a lot of classes have.
Yeah. Okay, so before he kind of gets in this, I hate this. I hate this. If you want, this is where the variety really, like, hits me the wrong way, is, like, I don't want to make builds that use a builder. I don't want, I understand having to put a point in it, because I feel like when you make decisions, there should be a drawback. So, kind of using the first, I'm basically losing 2 skill points by going into a no builder type build, right? So there isn't a drawback, but the power differential does not equate, right? So it doesn't feel like it, you definitely feel like you need a builder, up until you have the perfect build, and then even then it's arguable that a builder's probably good to have anyways, right? But because there's going to be a lot of times you just sit there, standing there, this is really bad for, this is one of the things that makes the leveling experience for some classes so terrible. Barbarian, for example, Druid also, knowingly terrible resource generation. On my Sorceress, it kind of feels off. I have these I have half of my imprints set to where when I use cooldowns or when I do X, I get Y amount of mana, right? So I'm doing everything I can to get more mana without having to use builders, and just because the builders just feel so lame to use. I mean, they feel lame, the majority of them, right?
Is kind of boring, and I think that it's
okay,
it doesn't
what it reminds me of? It's when you, what's it called? When you see LARPing, those LARPers where they're like firebolt, 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 fireball. It's just what is this is kind of cringe. I don't know. It feels very archaic in a way.
Good, and I would ask this to anybody in the chat, right? Does it feel good to use your basic abilities?
No. Yeah.
So why do they exist? Yeah, it's just stupid. I also think that with barbarians,
I think they should exist. I definitely think they should exist, because there are a lot of builder type builds you can go where you are empowering your builder ability, you know, and it can change it, and like you can do some unique stuff, right? But I do think the variety of being able to opt out of not using it uh, should be also an option.
Specifically, and this is like more class design type stuff to slow your game, but they don't, because whenever you're at max end game, you never use them. Like, I basically never use this ability. Like, I'll use it every once in a while, but for the most part, I'm using Whirlwind. I could take Lunging Strike off my bar, and my gameplay would not change that much.
There you go.
So I think that the basic...
And that's the same for my rogue at this point. Early on, obviously, I did have to use the builder. But now I'm at a point where I get so, like, I have enough, but it just takes so long to get to that point.
Abilities and
it takes so long to come online.
To use a basic ability that feels bad for, like, the majority of the game is pointless, and it's not fun. I don't see the reason why they can't tone down the cost of abilities earlier on in the game, because it would just make the classes more fun to play. Like, that's really all it comes down to. So imagine waiting until Season 2 to fix a bug. Yeah, and so other things, like Blizzard has been very receptive in a lot of ways. Like, they've been listening to, like, the gym tab, for example, they're going to be adding. But, again, it's going to be taking until Season 2, which I think is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, so, we already talked about that. So I'm just going to hop over to this one. The problem with dungeons.
How many of you guys join a dungeon in Diablo 4... and you think, oh, great, what stupid bullshit am I going to have to do this time? Because...
Cold snakes. Cold snakes.
Because that's the way I feel. Yep. Am I going to have to kill all the mobs and, like... there's one little fucking goblin that's sitting over in the corner.
Yeah, and they did things to... Okay, so yeah, fair. They did things to optimize the builds, or not the builds, but optimize the dungeons. So for the pathing, and then also, like, the kill all mobs. But I think they should just scrap the kill all mob idea in general. Like, yes, they run to you after a while, but it takes quite a bit for it to proc, right? Like, it takes like 5 minutes for them to actually start running to you, which is, I mean, it doesn't sound long, but in the case of like these types of games, that's quite a long time. So I feel like it should be like kill 90% of mobs. Like, just fuck it, just
and because
do
it was kind of close, but he's in another room.
Oh,
you have to...
when you get a skeleton in the middle of nowhere, all the way at the start of the dungeon, and you have to walk all the way back, nothing makes me want to rip my tits off more.
Like, run around to get them, and you didn't actually have them get pulled to you at the end. You've got to rescue 7 villagers, and it's a spider area, so you're getting the little spiders attacking you constantly.
Or it's cold
it's like
snakes.
They're very annoying, and I'd like to have more dungeons that were just focused on killing mobs, rather than completing menial tasks over and over and over. They're obnoxious. Also hitting dead ends or missing something and then having to run back and get it again. I'm not asking for just like pure fucking all gas, no brakes, greater rifts. I don't mean that. But like at least make the things that you have to do not as fucking annoying. Also, doing the, like, these are going to be like little things. Like, I don't really have this structured very well in my head, so I'm going to be kind of jumping around a little bit. But like inside of the dungeons, the events inside of the dungeons are fucking garbage. Every single like wave that you do after wave 5 should have more and more elites. Like more and more and more and more until you...
Yeah, you know those dungeon chests that it starts off and it's like, oh, here's some spiders. And then there's those, like, the goat men, right? And then there's, like, a succubus. And then there's, like, one just, like, demon guy at the end. You're like... It's actually progressively gets slower throughout the whole thing, which is... It's so backwards, right? You know, Diablo's always been a game about, like... ramping your serotonin upwards, and that ramp starts from like a slow build up until like you see numbers everywhere on your screen and it just feels good. You know, you're big dick in it, and you just like you actually fulfill the power fantasy by the time you hit the 5th wave. So, but in this, it's backwards, so it feels like you're kind of walking backwards.
You either die or the timer runs out. Because that would be really cool. Like, I don't want to do like a, like, oh, I'm on wave 9 and 3 succubus spawn. One's here, one's here, one's here.
He's talking
and
about
then
it,
there's
see?
also a fucking demon that spawns over here.
Sup,
and
everybody?
you kill them, and then it's like, okay, now there's 4 succubus.
Oh, it's so cringe. It's so cringe.
Okay. Thank God. So, like, you need...
Yeah, and also on this, the Nightmare Dungeon. Oh, I think he's going to talk about it right here. Let's skip to it.
Look at some of the affixes. Let's talk about suppressor. Suppressor.
So I'm just going to say this one more time for everybody. Cold snakes.
Sucks. Why is it that my whirlwind snapshots my location? Like, if I go inside of the suppressor, I should not have to recast whirlwind. And if it's teleporting away...
It does that? Wow.
Like, you know those mobs that the second that you engage them, they immediately teleport away? That's insanely fucking annoying whenever the main glyph that everybody uses automatically applies vulnerability as soon as you hit them. The exploit glyph, where the fuck is it? I think it's right here, right? Marshall exploit. Yeah, this one here. So, like, it's designed in a way to be as annoying as possible. Why the fuck would anybody want to do that? And especially if it's one of the vampire guys. Because not only do they turn into a bat and then move away, but they also teleport away with their abilities.
Yeah.
So you're dealing with that shit as well. And I also want to emphasize, as I go through all these things in the game, I would recommend buying Diablo 4, and I do think that it's a good game.
Yes. So this is not doomer takes. These are just small criticisms that can enhance the game. Did I get my money's worth out of Diablo 4? I feel like I absolutely have already. I feel like I've gotten my money's worth. I feel confident and good about the purchase. I just want to continue to play it, and I'm interested to see what the seasons bring.
I think it is an extremely solid, good game. But god fucking damn, it could be a lot better. It could be a whole lot better. I mean, the reason why I say that is because I think the level 1 to 70, I mean, I think most people could agree with this, right? Levels 1 to 70 is a good experience, where, like, you get more and more powerful and stronger and it feels better. Like, I think so. At 1 to 50, sure, 1 to 50. And just 1 to 50 is a good amount of time playing the game. The problem with the end game in Diablo is very simple.
I'm going to tell you what it is before he even says it. You have everything you need. Instead of, the only thing you're progressing at this point is, instead of do 40% vulnerable damage, you now deal 42% vulnerable damage on a weapon affix.
There is nothing for you to achieve past level 80, except for more Paragon levels and maybe getting the exact same piece of gear that you already have, where it says a 13 instead of a 12.
Oh, like clockwork. Absolutely true.
Is this really a good time? Is this really fun? I don't think so.
Probably not.
So what they need...
Grinding 100 hours for that is not fun. That's the hard part. That's why there needs to be like a tier in between. That's why I think the tier 5 is a great idea, because there needs to be something in between to achieve before getting to that. Like, I mean, there's that statistic. It's like getting level 80 is like halfway to level 100 or something like that. Nobody's gonna want to do that. Like, they spent a lot of time to get to 80. And I'm not saying like, oh, like, stop being a casual, whatever. But like, there needs to be something in between to give you motivation to keep that grind up. Because it's like, yeah, I want to kill the pinnacle boss, but it's like, it's just kind of something I want to do. It's like, I've already achieved all the things I feel like I have to do, as far as like making my character strong. So yeah.
To do is they need to add a tier 5. They
tier
need to
5.
add a
okay, so he's going to talk about it.
And
something
then have,
in between.
Different items drop there that have more than four affixes. Because I think that only 4 affixes on gear is kind of boring. I think gear in general is kind of boring. I think the best example of that is the weapon ability pool. So like core skill damage, damage over time, damage to injured enemies, damage...
if every season they released like, I don't know, like 10, like if they like added like 3 or 4 imprints to every single class every season, that would be so good. I feel like, at least for the initial like couple seasons, just to add some more diversity in like builds. I don't think the actual stat abilities are super boring, but I do think we can get really interesting things with the imprints. And if they keep that path going, it's simple enough that like the casual players will be able to enjoy it still and figure it out on their own. But if you keep adding more fixes, eventually it'll be so congested that hardcore players would be able to, kind of think independently and form something that's interesting time and time again.
To healthy enemies, damage to bleeding enemies, damage to basic skills, damage over time. Like, all of these things are just different percentages that don't fucking matter, that don't change your gameplay in any sort of a meaningful way. It's just percentages that make the number go up. They don't feel better. Like, for example, if you compare
and this was the problem. That was a problem with Diablo 3. That was like the core, like one of the core issues is you would get a set gear that made, Whirlwind do 17,000% weapon damage. So it's like it was much more simplified. So I could see them stepping out of their comfort zone as far as like increasing complexity a little bit while still appealing to a casual audience. But I feel like they could take a little bit more risk, and that's what I mean with the imprints.
To like patch 5.4 in Mists of Pandaria, your character plays massively fucking different because you have more haste, more crit chance, and more crit damage, and more mastery, so you can proc more things. So I don't really feel like my character is becoming, like, it's not really coming online, and I'm not getting these cool abilities whenever I'm leveling up. I'm just getting more percentages. And if you compare this to Diablo 3, at the beginning of the game, where attack speed scaled your crit damage, and your crit damage scaled with your crit strike, and then all these scaled with your main stat, the game felt a lot more complete in that way. And you could actually feel your character getting stronger, and the way your character played was better. So that's one big factor. I think that it just doesn't really feel any different. The mount system. So
yeah, I mean, he's right that you could feel yourself get stronger in Diablo 3. Personally, I mean, yes, that's easy to achieve when you get one piece of gear that increases your damage 16,000%. But that the thought that goes in that is not as fun for me personally. I could see the appeal for some people just because they just want to mindlessly like hop in and just bust shit up, and see the big number good. And it's not like I'm not against big number good. Like, I'm totally for it. But I would get very bored of it much quicker than I would, something like a little bit more substance. So let's skip over here. What he wants to see in Diablo. Okay.
Well, I'm not sure. Overall, I just want to see, like, this is what I want to see happen. I want to see them add a tier 5.
Yep.
For level.
Okay. If they added a tier 5, I think instant massive W. I would think that would solve probably like a good 70% of my current issues with the game. And I would be very satisfied. The other 30% are like random annoyances that I just kind of wonder why they're in the game.
80 plus players that has like new uniques, higher drop chances for the rare uniques like Shaco and Grandfather. And
I do think they should actually lower the drop chance of some of those uniques from 85. I think they should drop it to like, I don't know, like 60 or something. Like they start dropping at 60 or 55. I feel like 80 is such a high number that most people will never be able to achieve that, and that's not a terrible thing. But I mean, considering the odds right now, if anybody doesn't know, I think only 2 Shakos have been found in the entire world so far. Some crazy, ridiculous stat like that, and that's a little bit of a high drop rate, especially for the power gain that you get from it. Because it's not significant enough to make it that rare, right? Like, if you're gonna make something that rare, like if it's like a 1 in a million drop, that thing better, like, you better giga stomp like after you get it, right?
there's a few other ones. I'd like to see that happen. I don't think that it is great game design. Yeah, like this.
Ooh, barricade. Get rid of those barricades.
It's fucking annoying.
Especially the ones that block the whole path and you have to get off. Just
like,
annoying. It's just
great.
annoying. And that's what I mean by my 30%. It's like little stuff like that that's annoying, and you're just like, oh, like, can we not?
I want to see them add more stuff like this.
That's a nut.
Yeah, this kind of
so do you see the light in his eyes? It lit up. That's because a serotonin blast went straight to his cerebellum. And that's what we need. We need more, like, and I'm not saying all the time. I'm not saying, like, pedal to the metal, right, all the time. But, like, we need more of those, like, where you just explode and nut all over the screen and feel good. Every now and then.
Giving people
more
a reason
often.
to go out into the world is a major positive and, like, a huge W in my opinion. Yeah, I even made, like, a list. I don't know if I can find the list right now of, like, all the things that I like to see.
Let's take a look at this. Gem tab, search stash tab. So these are like short term, meaning smaller changes, locking items, massive buff to Nightmare Dungeon. I think that would be good for people that want a Nightmare Dungeon grind. Improve loot filter. If they put any kind of loot filter in the game, oh, that would be big nut for me. Ways to speed up the events, remove annoying barricades, obviously, lower remounting cooldown. I think there shouldn't even be a remounting cooldown at all unless you get knocked off. Okay, so like when you get knocked off from taking too much damage or whatever. Other than that, I don't think there should be you should be penalized in the open world for that. Mount always moves at max speed. I don't even know why that exists in the game. I use a controller, and I heard it's actually slower than when you drag your mouse out. They should just get rid of that. Option to cull status indicators.
Diablo 4. But overall, I think that Blizzard has a great foundation for this game. But in order for the game to...
Let's see, renown completely account-wide. Map automatically unlocked if you've done it before. I think they're already doing this, right? So Season 1 release, yeah. Okay, he did put that in there. More storage space. Dueling. I think that would be really fun to actually duel. I played Diablo 2 a little bit. I'm not like a Diablo 2 stan or anything like that. But... I do remember actually that was one of the things I did with my friends is like we would duel outside the town and like have like ear competitions, like of like who can get the most ears. It was just like really funny and stupid, and I mean it was just fun, right? Reimagining of what Nightmare Dungeons are. I don't know. Like I feel like Nightmare Dungeons kind of do know what they are. I kind of disagree with this one. I do think that there's supposed to be a Greater Rift style type replacer, right? And I'm not saying it's a positive or a negative, but I think that's like what they were going for. So maybe he's saying like, don't do that and try to make it more innovative. If that's the case, then I would agree with that. Meaning, take a bigger risk with the Nightmare Dungeons than making them Greater Rift 2.0. Higher loot threshold for 80 and 90 plus characters. I think, and I think this is where the tier 5 comes in. If there was a tier 5, having that higher loot being capable would feel so nice. Less annoying dungeon objectives, better bosses for dungeons with more interesting. If they had raids, I've never played Lost Ark. I'm not a gacha game enjoyer. I don't like those kind of games usually. But if they did add like raids or something like that you could do with your friends, like I think that would be really fun to do. I feel like I would have a lot of fun doing that. And character really loadouts.
Good and get people.
That's a little thing for me. I don't really care much about that personally. I know people that want to try lots and lots of builds, but I usually like per season I'll try like 1 to 3 builds and over the course of a couple characters, and then I'm like pretty satisfied, and then I'm done with the season. So I mean, I guess it's a thing, it's not a bad thing to add, but it just wouldn't affect me personally. Debuff UI list 100%, because let me tell you something. I'm gonna say it. I think for the 5th time this video. Cold snakes. Being chain CC'd in this game feels so bad. It is the worst experience I've ever had in an ARPG getting chain CC'd in this game. You just sit there like if you've ever dueled in World of Warcraft, when you get the paladin stun and you don't have your trinket up and you're just sitting there for like 6 seconds and you're just like, oh my god. It feels like an eternity. Tone down super rare drops 100%. I just said that. Make them drop. Okay, drop from a pinnacle boss. That's a good idea. But I think they should just make them drop sooner, right?
People that continue coming back for season after season. I think they really have to look at some of the fundamental mechanics and rethink the way they work. Like just affixes that are fucking annoying. Like the ones that you have to like run and stand underneath the like electricity thing or it
For the
one-shots
6th
you.
time, cold snakes.
You've got 15
I
other
hate
fucking
snakes.
sound
I hate
effects
snakes.
playing.
I'm sorry,
You wanna
guys.
be
I hate
staring
them. I
at your
hate the snakes
mini-map
that
to
are
see
cold.
If you can find this little thing. It's just fucking annoying. And it's not like it's hard. It's just fucking annoying. I think that whenever the challenge to something is just that it's a roadblock, and it's not like there's any sort of like real gameplay.
Okay, let's make this the last part that we're watching of this video. My thoughts on Diablo 4 overall, and I'll give my take as well. Let's see what he says.
But I think
actually, you know what? I'll give my take before his. Okay. Like I said earlier in this video, I am cautiously optimistic about this game. I feel like I've already gotten my money's worth. I don't know how anybody else feels about that, but personally, I feel like I've definitely gotten my money's worth of gameplay. I've played it for, almost 200 hours now, and that's before even Season 1 comes out, and it's a live service game. So it's already met my expectations in the sense that I got my money's worth out of the game, and it's going to be continued to develop on, so that's already a W in my book. All the criticisms I've talked about, I'm not shitting on the game. I think it's a great game. I think it's a very fun game, but I think it can be much better, with little tiny criticisms, right? And I know people get like kind of triggered and upset when they're like, like we don't have time to know life the game like you do. And it's like, yeah, like I get it, but you're going to get there one day, lad. When you're a big boy grown up and you do reach that 200-hour mark, like you're going to feel these same things I'm feeling. And I like a good papa that I am, I want to, fix the world for you before you get there, before you grow into a beautiful flower. So that's kind of my thoughts. Looking forward to Season 1, what they add. I will be a little bit critical of it just to see the direction that they're going, but yeah, as far as money's worth, 100% worth it. I would say buy this game today.
There's no point to play it after level 80. Like, I'm effectively just wasting my time right now.
Yeah.
I go in, I do a dungeon.
And that's what it is. And that's why I started a new character on a sorceress, because after, I think my rogue is level 82. And that's how I feel. I'm just kind of wasting my time, playing it. I'll go on it to help my friends out, power level or whatever, and that's pretty fun occasionally. But as far as personal enjoyment playing the character, as I got from 1 to 80, is drastically reduced. So now I'm playing a sorceress, and I kind of feel that again. I'm like, oh, this is cool. I'm discovering stuff, and I'm getting to play with the new systems that class has, and I'm in that initial mid-game loop I discussed.
I know, I'm not even looking at the loot. Nothing that they drop is going to be good.
Yeah, and that's what you do. You mass sell everything because you're re-rolling your own gear for better percentages, right? So, and the gold, I have a piece of gear that I'm spending, I think it's 26 million gold to re-roll once. So it's it gets crazy.
I
and that's not my
just
idea.
For gold, maybe, so
fun.
I could re-roll an item that I already had. But do I really feel like doing that? Probably not. Those good uniques from 85 plus. Yeah, but how many of those uniques has Rob gotten, for example? And he's been level 100 for every single day ever since the second day. He plays the game 24 hours a day. So if he hasn't gotten these uniques, you're probably not going to get them either.
In your life. You will not get them in your life. There's people that have played this game so much already, more than you will ever play it in your life. And that's the discussion when it comes to uniques, right?
So just think about it from there.
You have a better chance at being struck with lightning than getting some of these uniques. Yeah.
It's like as soon as you think about it, you realize like how rare that really is. The fact that Rob hasn't gotten us is crazy. That's because the drop rates are garbage. And the reason why the drop rates being garbage is bad is because the drop rates in the game are like in PoE it's okay for something like a mirror to exist because you can buy a mirror. The reason why it's not fun for things like that to exist in this game is because you can't buy them.
Yeah. Like if you could get a Shaco and like sell it for something crazy like 1,000,000,000,000 gold or like I don't know, like some obscene number, that would feel awesome, right? Like that would feel good. But you can't do that. You're
You
just
just
kind of
have
trapped.
to like randomly roll the dice over and over and over until maybe you get lucky. And I find that to be like infinitely less fun than going and actually working towards something over time.
Yeah, so I mean that we won't watch the rest of the video. We don't have to, but that pretty much sums up my thoughts of it. I think he has some good points. Overall, like I said, it's a good game. These are all just criticisms that would help improve it overall. And I do think it's kind of funny. It's like, wow, this game, I just shit all over it. And I was like, 10 out of 10 game. You should definitely buy it. But that ironically, that's how I feel. Shit game. Definitely buy this. All right. Well, that was a good one.